Welcome to a deep dive into leadership, but not the kind you usually hear. We're going way past those buzzwords, and trust me, this one might just change how you think about leaders. Entirely.
We're digging into something called the Unity-Disunity model, the UD model for short.
Okay, so UD model, it's basically the how and the why behind different leaders appearing when they do, right, shaping things, especially when the world's in a whirlwind of change.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is it's not about saying, oh, this leadership style, it's the best, or this one's terrible. It's more like, what does this particular moment in history need?
So it's like each leadership style has its time to shine. Love that. But which are these players in this whole societal game?
The UD model says there are three main types we see over and over. You got your tinkerers, then you've got shapers, and of course you can't forget the streamliners.
Okay, so let's break it down. First up, tinkerers. Who are these people?
Think of them like those restless innovators, always pushing the boundaries. Rules. What rules? They don't care. They're driven by pure curiosity. You'll find them in a lab, maybe a workshop, or maybe just lost in their own head, dreaming up the impossible.
So not always the most practical people right off the bat.
Not necessarily,
Yeah.
but that's where their genius lies. Take Jeff Hinton, for example.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This guy was obsessed with artificial neural networks way before anyone else saw their potential. I mean, everyone else thought it was a dead end.
But he stuck with it.
He kept tinkering away, and guess what? He laid the groundwork for the entire AI revolution we're seeing today.
That's wild. It makes you realize how important that initial tinkering phase is, even if it looks like nothing's happening on the surface.
Absolutely. And it's those tinkerers with their wild ideas that set the stage for our next type of leader.
Oh, you mean the shapers. They're up next.
Exactly. Think of shapers as the bridge between what if and here it is.
Ooh, I like that.
They take those groundbreaking ideas, those seeds the tinkerers have planted, and they're the ones who make them real.
So they're the visionaries.
You got it. The ones who can actually build something tangible that has the power to change the world as we know it.
Can you give me an example of a shaper?
Sure, look at someone like Sam Altman. Recognized the potential of AI early on and saw what those like Hinton were building. Co-founded OpenAI, and boom, just like that, AI was suddenly something everyone was talking about.
He made these complex ideas accessible, shaped the entire field as we see it now.
And it's that building, that scaling up that shapers do, which paves the way for the final type, streamliners.
Now streamliners. They're the ones who don't always get the best PR, right?
You think?
It's like they walk in after all the cool, innovative stuff has happened.
They do have a rep for being a bit, shall we say, less glamorous. But here's the thing, they're the glue that holds it all together. Without them, all that amazing stuff, it might just fizzle out.
They bring the order, yeah.
Order, efficiency, they're the ones making sure those brilliant creations can actually last.
So they take that spark and turn it into a well-oiled machine.
Precisely. Think Satya Nadella at Microsoft. When he came in, they were struggling. The tech world was changing faster than they could keep up.
Right.
Nadella, he didn't just throw everything out and start over. He looked at what they had and he made it better. Streamlined everything, and suddenly Microsoft was back on top.
That's a really good point. We always hear about disruption and reinventing the wheel, but Nadella shows how powerful it can be just to make what you already have as good as it can possibly be. It's like saying, hey, hold on, sometimes the best innovations come from making the old stuff better, smarter.
And that's where this model really clicks. It's not like those leadership books that say there's one right way to lead. The UD model is all about connections.
Okay, I'm with you.
It shows how these different types of leaders, they work together, play off each other.
Like a relay race, kind of.
Perfect analogy. The tinkerers, they're the ones kicking it off, those wild ideas. They hand off to the shapers who turn them into something real. Then it's the streamliners' turn, taking that creation, refining it, making sure it lasts.
But wouldn't that lead to stagnation eventually? Like if everything's running smoothly, wouldn't things get a little stale?
That's where the adaptive cycle comes in. It's like this hidden part of the UD model that makes it even more fascinating.
Okay, now you've got to explain this adaptive cycle thing. What's it all about?
Imagine a garden that's like perfectly manicured, everything in its place, right?
I can picture it.
Beautiful, but one strong wind and it all falls apart. The adaptive cycle, it's saying that when systems get too stable, too optimized, they become fragile.
They can't adapt when things change.
Exactly. And that's when you need those rule breakers back. The tinkerers. They come in, shake things up, even if it means a little chaos.
So like the reset button.
That's a great way to put it. They hit reset, And then, boom, a whole new cycle of growth and innovation can begin.
So it's all about this back and forth, this dance between the different leadership styles.
And it's that dance that allows a society, an organization, to roll with the punches,
Mhm.
to really thrive when things get messy.
This is giving me so much to think about. It makes me realize how important it is to have different types of people at the table, each with their own unique way of seeing the world.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it's not just some big picture organizational thing either. This applies to us, too, in our own lives.
Oh, how so?
Think about it. Knowing when to be the tinkerer, the shaper, or the streamliner, it's like having different tools in your belt. You can handle any situation.
I love that. So it's not about trying to force ourselves into one of these boxes and saying, well, I'm a streamliner, that's it.
Right.
It's more about like understanding what each style brings to the table and being able to tap into those strengths as needed.
Now you've got it.
Hmm.
And honestly, the best leaders, the ones who can really navigate this crazy world, they're the ones who can switch it up, be a little bit of each type depending on what's needed.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's say our listener, who's obviously loving this deep dive, wants to get better at recognizing which situations call for which type of leadership. What should they look for? Are there any clues?
Great question. One thing that can help is thinking about the stage of development.
The stage of development. What do you mean by that?
Let's say you're launching a new product, something totally out there. In those early brainstorming sessions, you need that tinkerer energy, right?
So people who don't mind if it gets a little chaotic, who like to push boundaries. Sounds like my kind of brainstorming session.
Exactly. But then, as that product starts to take shape, that's when those shaper skills become key. Taking those wild ideas and turning them into something concrete.
Getting people on board with the vision, building a momentum.
You've got it.
Huh.
And then, once you're ready to launch, to go big, that's where those streamliner traits shine. They'll make sure it all runs smoothly.
Wow, when you break it down like that, it's really incredible to see how each leadership type plays this vital role in taking something from idea to reality.
It all comes back to that UD model. And the cool thing is, it's not just for the business world.
You're so right. I mean, you can see this playing out everywhere, even in the art world, right?
Totally. Like, think about those artists who break all the rules. The real pioneers, always experimenting with new forms and pushing the boundaries, they're the tinkerers.
Right, the ones who come in and say, you call that art, watch this.
Exactly. And then you've got those who see the potential in that new wave, those who can refine it, showcase it. Those are your shapers, turning those wild ideas into full-blown art movements.
And suddenly everyone's talking about it.
And we can't forget the streamliners in the art world, the gallery owners, the curators, the critics even. They analyze it, put it in context, make it accessible.
It's amazing how this model works in such different worlds.
Yeah.
From like launching a tech startup to how we understand art.
It's about those fundamental roles,
Yeah.
how they pop up everywhere.
It really is fascinating. Okay, before we get too lost in the big picture, we did promise some bonus content for our listeners who are clearly ready to dive even deeper into all of this.
Yes, we've got some great resources.
What do we got?
So for those wondering about leadership in this whole AI explosion, Palpable Voice is a must-read. And if you're interested in the nitty-gritty of different leadership styles, check out Maternalism and Paternalism in Leadership.
Yes.
It'll really make you rethink some things.
And we can't forget about swarm marketing, right? It's all about how leadership doesn't always have to come from the top down. Super interesting.
Absolutely. And of course, for those who really want to go deep on the UD model itself, there's In Search of the Last Turtle.
It'll give you the theory behind all of this. It's wild. So as I'm sitting here thinking about leadership in like the future, everything's changing so fast with technology. It makes me wonder about the UD model itself. Do you think it will have to adapt?
That's a great question. Will we see totally new types of leaders emerge? Leaders who are built for this new world we're creating.
Right. A world driven by AI, constant connectivity. It's definitely something to think about.
Well, this has been a phenomenal deep dive into the world of leadership and this whole Unity-Disunity model. I hope everyone listening is feeling as inspired as I am right now.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep those leadership skills sharp. Remember, the best leaders are the ones who know how to use all the tools in the box to adapt, to grow, and to shape the world around them.